Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a Fear the Walking Dead video for today, after, of course, this weekend seeing episode 13 for Fear the Walking Dead Season 3. And this one, first, we're going to start with giving our thoughts on Troy's possible future. Okay, so we have 3 episodes left for Fear the Walking Dead for this season, and then it is over, and we are into the Walking Dead Season 8 territory. So, yeah, pretty excited for this weekend's episode, but not expecting too much crazy stuff happening for the rest of the season for Fear, just because we've already seen so much just craziness this season. But the first question for this week came in from Marilyn S, who says, Q+A Trev, why do you think Nick keeps covering for Troy? So we're going to give our thoughts on that one. And if you guys missed last night, I did the review for episode 13, a pretty crazy episode, and then also predictions for episode 14 for what I think is going to happen. But with regards to this one, so Troy's future and why Nick keeps covering for Troy. And that is true at the end. I almost thought Nick was going to tell them the truth and that he wasn't going to lie about what Troy did. So if they had known that Troy had led the herd to the ranch, I am sure that somebody there would have killed him right then and there. I think that was kind of a near-death situation for Troy, because you have Walker, who is there, who's just lost basically all his people. Crazy Dog has just fought through all this insanity. Alicia, who's lost Jake and lost, she was kind of, I suppose you could call her one of the leaders of the ranch community there. She was one of the standout people, and of course, here she's basically having to fight for her life and put down all these people, and it's just hell on earth for her in the pantry. So if he would have told the truth, somebody there would have killed Troy, guaranteed, right? So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like season 2 of The Walking Dead, where they go to let Randall go, and Shane kills him because for fear of Randall going, getting his group, and then coming back and attacking. Sort of like in Fear, they let Troy go instead of killing him, right? And after they let him go, it causes everything that happens afterwards. So it's kind of like a different, anyway, it's just kind of a different way to go. And at this point, I think you can say it was really a huge mistake to let Troy go, even though he was Jake's brother. Madison probably should have killed him, to be honest with you, when she had the chance. But Nick covers for him. Nick lies for Troy in this case, and I think it's to save his life. Yeah, I think that if he knows that if the other people there knew, that somebody there would have killed Troy on the spot, probably. So he felt like he probably had no choice. Also, I do like that Alicia points out in one of the recent episodes, it was a couple episodes ago now, that Nick seems to like Troy. And he does. He actually does like Troy. Probably because, like she said, that they have the same kind of self-destructive tendencies. And they are similar in a lot of ways. They've kind of developed some kind of very strange, peculiar friendship, I suppose you could say. And, Nick probably sees some of himself in Troy, but sees him as, even worse off because of his dad and what happened with that. So Nick knows a lot about Troy's kind of backstory, upbringing, and the things that happened to him, of course, with Otto and that, Jeremiah. So he probably feels bad for him, and he probably finds some kind of camaraderie with somebody out there that maybe is even more messed up than he is, so Nick doesn't feel so bad. It's like, yeah, I messed up. I may have been really into drugs before or whatever, almost OD'd a few times. But this guy's been like, timing people's deaths and, mass killing people and shit like this for fun. So, yeah, it's the crazy stuff. And I also like that he's not willing himself to kill Troy. He kicks the gun and tells him, do it, kill yourself if you want to do it. I also like that as well, too. It kind of comes across as trolly, because, trolls online tell people to kill themselves, right? So I think he just covers for him because he does slightly, he likes him in a way, but he also understands him, and he kind of sympathizes with Troy a little bit, too, just kind of for the madness that Troy causes and creates. We'll have to see what his future is going to be for the series. This season, again, I don't expect to see too much more. We only have 3 episodes left. And I don't think Troy's going to be the focus. He's had lots of focus time now. I do think Troy will survive out the season and will be a character in next season. Also because, it's good to have, I think, as you go through the series, just like with the original Walking Dead 2, certain survivors that come from different communities and different walks of life. So with Troy, you have him, the surviving Otto member. So the surviving character of the ranch. And you think about like after episode 13 and how many characters were wiped out there, it's like, geez, there's pretty much nobody left from the ranch. I think they're all dead except for our lead cast, which is kind of nuts. You'd almost think that you'd have one or two random people there that should have survived, but they didn't. It's kind of like a prison scenario when the governor attacks, and then the only people that are leaving, surviving, are Rick and the group. All the people that kind of came in from Woodbury and joined on the bus there were basically all killed off from the illness and then the attack on the prison in season 4. So they added them all on, then they killed them all off. It's kind of something similar with the ranch here because, Troy is the only one. And then you have from Walker's side, you have Walker, Ofelia, if you want to count her, even though she's already like one of our survivors anyway. And then you have Crazy Dog, which who knows if he'll even survive out the season. So I do think that Troy has to. Walker, it would be kind of cool to see him back next year. But I do think that as far as like leadership goes, he may clash with other people, so I would not be surprised if he is killed off either in the finale or next season. Same with Ofelia too. I like the prediction that Daniel will almost get to her and then she'll be gone just before he gets her back, that type of thing. Because I think that'd be kind of tragic, and I do think that might be a big one for this finale. So we'll have to see. But Walker and Troy, Crazy Dog, these are characters that are definitely questionable. The only thing is, I do think they need to keep some of these characters alive because we're getting into 4th season. You have to add on a good number of characters that are going to be something in the series. You can't just have it be just the Clarks, because the Manawa family's all dead too, right? So, man, it's already looking really, really slim pickings as far as add-on characters. At this time, going into season 4, Rick and the crew at the prison and that, they had, everybody at the prison. You can look back to the episodes if you want to. But they had a lot of people there that had joined on, and the group was a lot bigger than Fear's group is right now, which you can consider it to be like Madison, Alicia, Nicholas. Those are our top, I want to say. After that, you got Strand, Daniel, and then Ofelia. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anybody, but everybody else, Troy, Walker and Crazy Dog, not a lot. Luciana somewhere out there, but not a lot of characters really. So I kind of think by virtue of that Troy has to live at least for a season or so. So I do expect him to live out the season myself. You guys can write your comments below on that. I expect him to throttle back quite a bit now, but maybe if Nick can have a good relationship with him, Nick can find some use for him, because he is useful. He is good with firearms and all that. He enjoys getting into craziness, which is a strength, I think, in a zombie apocalypse, to not shut down, to kind of, and even to enjoy it, to be a little bit psycho like that. So I'm looking forward to the future with Troy to see what they're going to do with him, because he's like a mad dog, right? I have to see. Hopefully Nick won't have to put him down eventually. We'll see. Brian Hogan says, I was expecting a much bigger reaction out of Walker, and Madison for that matter. Everyone at their camp just died. Act like it. Regardless, decent episode. Yeah, that's true. I think it's just that Fear has so much stuff going on, or at least so far this season, has had so many different things happening, so much stuff going on, that you can't really focus on everybody, because they showed us, and this was like an Alicia episode with episode 13, you show us Alicia's reaction to Jake's death, because she was, in love with him and everything. They were going out and all that and sleeping together, so there's that. But as far as Walker, yeah, you would think that he would react to losing his tribe, so to speak, losing his people. The nation totally is gone now. So it's kind of like he's like this badass leader, but now what does he have? Now he has basically nothing. It's like him and Crazy Dog. It's like a pair. And that's not really, there's just not enough there for him to be this kind of leader that he was before. So, man. It's crazy stuff, yeah. But, you're right. We would expect to see that. But it was kind of an end of the episode type of thing where they just kind of arrived back. They didn't have much time. I would expect to see something more from him, to respond to the fact that everybody's dead when they get back, like out of nowhere, right? Madison as well, too. But I guess it was just, there's only so many things they can focus on at once when they're kind of cramming it in. So that's kind of the way it came across in the episode. So it makes sense. But you're right. I hear you as well, too, that you would expect to see a bigger reaction from Walker and Madison as well, too. But Madison's kind of selfish in that way that she doesn't really care so much. So I can understand why she wouldn't care that much. But Walker, you're right. You would expect to see one from him. But then again, he's not a Clark. He's not like one of those, he's kind of like becoming a lead, but right now I'd put him as like a B. He's not really an A-lister yet, I don't think. I wouldn't say. Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Gary Lander says, Trev, who dies first, Nick or Alicia, out of the two? So because Dave Erickson said that with regards to the story, he's focusing a lot on Nick and Madison and kind of them and eventually a falling out between them probably. So like a major one. So we'll have to see what happens with that. As a result of him mentioning that, I'd kind of say Nick, but I think after this episode too, you get to see how important Alicia is as a character, and you really can't really kill either one at this point, I think, because you're just so slim pickings for characters in the show. You just can't, you kind of need them both, because otherwise, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to introduce a full new cast of characters out of nowhere? That's going to be difficult to get over. I mean, that's going to be really tough for people to care about people they don't even know, and then not have those. You need those other main characters there. They should probably have at least a couple more people from the ranch to survive, I think, like a couple more standouts, but well, so be it, I guess. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as the original Walking Dead. The roster could be smaller if that's what they want to do, which right now it certainly is. itsDjAnt says they killed the entire supporting cast in one episode, subcast in one episode, and yeah, that's true. They did kill quite a bit of them. So it's just, I guess I don't know. I guess they didn't see anyone there who they thought could really be a standout aside from Walker and Troy. So at least there's a few in Crazy Dog. At least there's a couple or a few that are going to continue on afterwards. But yeah, it almost feels like a new season right now. It almost feels like that's like the end of that whole story arc, and now we're getting into a new one, post-ranch story arc for Fear. It just doesn't line up with a season end is all. So that's okay, and it certainly is exciting. And I didn't get bored at the ranch at all. Like, I didn't spend any time in the ranch and think like, oh man, when are they going to blow past this? It never happened for me. They closed it off pretty quickly without us, feeling too comfortable there. Wyatt Jones says, not one person survived the episode outside of the core cast. Seriously, everybody suffocated except for Alicia, Ofelia, and that other guy I can't even name. Yeah, you're right. Again, exactly what you said. So same thing before. Yep, they did. Last one will be from Cham, who says, okay, Troy has got to go. Look at the amount of shit this psycho has put people through. He's killed so many innocent people since the start of the season, and he gets to live freely with no punishment whatsoever. The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. He says, and expecting shit to change. This is his words. I'm just reading this comment, right? They keep telling him, you're bad, you're a murderer, stop killing, yet they don't put an end to him. It's almost like they spare him only because he isn't normal. Well, normal doesn't exist in an apocalypse. You're either good or bad, and must suffer the consequences of either. If these rules apply to everybody else, why not him also? It doesn't make sense how if another one of the characters were to kill just one innocent person, they'd make sure that person is punished, probably by death at some point. They kept Troy alive after so much horrible shit he's done, and the only punishment they gave him is banishment. Shaking my head. So it's a good, definitely a good lengthy message from Cham here. Well, this is the thing with Fear. Again, it's not exactly the same as the original Walking Dead. You don't have Rick saying, you kill, you die, that kind of thing, like was in the comics. That was really something in the comics that was focused on a lot, which is that if you kill, then you're going to be, you're put to death yourself. But then again, Rick does banish Carol, and it works out okay. He does when Tyrese comes back at the prison. So there are instances like that. This is just one where it's the opposite of the Randall case. They let him go rather than putting him down. But then again, you can understand because his brother's there. You can't just kill just anybody, whatever, even if they're, do things that are wrong, which Troy clearly has done a lot of. Did it come back to bite him in this case? Absolutely it did. So Madison should have put him down. But they do sympathize with him, Madison being a guidance counselor. It's kind of like one of those things where you get the kids that are really troubled and stuff, and that they had a bad upbringing. She sees the tape of the way Otto treated him and that kind of stuff and the confusion and everything. So, Yeah, it's just it's one of those where people do feel sympathy for people like Troy because because of how they're brought up and everything like that, and is it an excuse for that allows him to do things wrong that he shouldn't do? No, Troy is certainly not a good guy, and the characters in like what you say here, black and white view of characters where they're either good or they're bad. Fear the Walking Dead. It doesn't really work with that. Like it's more complex than that. It's more gray than that. It's not simply that this character is a good guy or this character is a bad guy. Madison, in a lot of ways is kind of a bad guy from the start, even before the zombie apocalypse, for the things she did. Even if she did them for the right reasons, murder in real life is still wrong, and so she's admitted to that. So you don't necessarily have a group here that is 100% good. I also wouldn't say they're 100% a group of villains and evil and going to go around killing everybody. I think that again they're in the middle. They're more like real people where, for the most part, they're probably good, but when push comes to shove, Madison certainly doesn't hesitate. Nick will do stuff he's not supposed to do in order to get his fix early on in the show. So it's not that black and white. You've had Alicia kill and do stuff like that. So it's for Travis in season 2. So it's not that easy to say. The characters in Fear are not that black and white to me. I don't see them as like they're either this is a good guy, this is a bad guy. Walker's a bad guy, this person's a good guy. Jeremiah's a good guy or he's a bad. It's more like real people and how they might be in a zombie apocalypse, where sometimes they'll do stuff that's really bad they probably shouldn't do. Other times maybe not. Man, it's just not that cut and dry, I think, in Fear as it is in the regular show. It's more kind of wishy-washy in Fear and more kind of in the middle. So some people might like that because they find it psychologically more interesting. Some people might hate it. But this whole idea of karma, or this kind of underwritten law that there are not people who do bad things to get away with it. There are absolutely people in real life that do things they should not do. Murder, for example, since we're on the topic. There are people that do stuff that do kill people and get away with it permanently and never get caught. You'd like to think that everybody would get caught who breaks the law and does things that are wrong, but it's not true. Some people do get away with it, unfortunately, because you have to have evidence, you have to have proof, you have to have a DA that's going to prosecute, and then you have to have the jury that says, yeah, beyond a reasonable doubt they did it. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes murderers do get away with what they did. Technology and things like that make it harder, which is good, so that, I would say most of the time they get caught, and most of the time they do. But there is a small percentage, I want to say, that does totally get away with doing bad things, and you just hope that eventually they get caught. But this kind of unwritten law, believing in this kind of thing, it's kind of like a rule of thumb, but it's not an algorithm. And if you don't understand the difference, you got to look it up. Rule of thumb versus algorithm, which one's which, right? Rule of thumb applies most of the time. Algorithm is a set instructions that applies all the time. So yeah, it's not that simple, and I think that maybe, Cham, you're oversimplifying these things and you're viewing them as kind of, it shows a little bit about your philosophy. Not that you're wrong, or you're not wrong. It's a philosophy question. There really is no right and wrong. But just because someone's evil does not necessarily mean they're going to get caught, and does not necessarily mean they're not going to win. There are lots of cases in real life and in history where the bad guy does very, very well. Absolutely. So, yeah. So, Fear, interesting. Good topic for sure. And Troy's future, we'll have to see where they go with it. But a lot of people would like to see his comeuppance eventually. I don't know how many seasons he'll survive or anything like that. I'd say maybe like one season. Maybe he's killed off in season 4 at some point, or Walker is. We'll have to see. But they just don't have a lot of characters right now to be killing off people still. They kind of have to slow down now, I think, and add some more new ones in. They don't have really much of a choice. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to thumb it up below. Leave another question below. This is some good stuff. And, we'll do another Q&A this week for sure. We got a new issue of Walking Dead on Wednesday, so we're going to have a review for that for you guys. And, of course, as we get new info for the original series, we'll be doing lots more videos for that leading into Season 8. So for this video, guys, we'll see you again soon for another. So, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See ya.